Hey, hey. Sabrina, want to unmute everyone just while we're saying hellos? Is that possible?
I can.
Just did it. Everyone should be.
Cool. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Heather, how's it going?
How's it going?
Good.
We're just gonna give it a few minutes for some throw some more people in the room.
Sorry for the late start.
Hey, Rashad.
Hey, what's up, y'all?
Hey, Rashad.
Hi, Rashad. Well, how about while we're waiting, we'll do a little game. I'll say hi to someone, and then that person say hi to someone else. Hey, Mike.
Hi, Heather. Hey, Meredith.
Hey, Mike. Hey, Rashad.
Hey, Christine.
Hey. Hey, Rachel. Oh, okay.
Well,
Hey, Kristen.
Hello, Snappots. How are you?
Hello, doing fine. I gotta say hello to Joe because that mustache just keeps getting more and more impressive.
yeah.
Oh, my God.
Thank you very much. Hey, who am I saying hi to?
Anybody.
Meredith. I didn't hear anyone say hi to her.
They said hi to me. But hi, Joe.
Hey, I feel like we're on Romper Room.
Hi, Rachel.
Hello, Meredith. Hello, I was muted before. Hello, Meredith. Lovely to see you.
Likewise.
Waiting.
Cool. I work with kids, so I feel like, romper room kids mode. So we'll get started. Thanks everybody for joining on. Stephanie had a last minute emergency, so she may join us late. I guess, Sabrina, we can move now just so it's a little easier to hear. Can everyone still hear me? Yeah, okay. So yeah, Stephanie will join us in a little bit, but if you're new to the call, I'm Heather from the Jersey City Arts Council, and we host this weekly meeting with NJCU Center for the Arts. Stephanie Chaikin, who I was just referring to, will join us in a little bit, and Christine Goodman from Cultural Affairs. Tonight, Sabrina and Justin from NJCU are also on helping to moderate, and if there's any NJCU specific topics or questions, they'll help us field that. So just from the Arts Council, no big news that I haven't talked to a lot of you about already, and things that we had discussed last week, but we are doing starting a weekly newsletter of online events just to help you get a little bit more publicity. It's not foot traffic online, I guess it's eye traffic to whatever it is you're doing. So there's a form that goes out with our weekly newsletter, and actually I have to check MacAdam. I'm not sure if it's on the website, but we'll get it up on the website. So if you have something going on online, events, share it with us and we'll send it out. And what was the other thing? It will come back to me. I'll turn it over to Christine and see if there are any updates from Cultural Affairs. Any news?
Well, we had the webinar today. I know there was about 60 people who had signed up for it. I hope those of you that attended found it helpful. And we're also really open to hearing about any other experts you'd like to have come speak on current topics that could be helpful to you. If anybody wants to talk about anything that was particularly useful to their organization, we can do that maybe at the end, just to keep things moving. But thanks for everybody who joined.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that on the agenda in a little bit. But we were gonna start with Mary had a topic that was relevant to the gang. So I think we'll turn it over to Mary. If you want to start, we'll unmute.
Sure. Can you guys hear me? Awesome. So just wanted to, you guys can call me MJ. I know in the past you have called me Mary, but I think we can stick to MJ. We're all family at this point. Wanted to just clarify too that I'm no longer with Rising Tide Capital. So unfortunately, I can't change my name on the video. So if you see Rising Tide, I apologize. Technical, things won't allow me to change it. But I hope you're all well. And I wanted to bring up the topic that I brought up 2 meetings ago about engaging your supporters and your constituents. And some of the things that have popped to my mind that, and maybe this could be a continuation of the dialogue, but some things to think about: streaming performances. So I did see something, with Kennedy Dancers, for example, that I did get an email about streaming classes, streaming your performances that were recorded previously. So think of it as like a rerun, your favorite TV show that you happen to miss an episode of, right? Your supporters are gonna love your work. They're gonna truly support you. If they've missed something, why not stream something that has happened in the past? Let every newsletter or social media account have a donation visibility, making it clear that there's a way that they can help during this time, and just making that very at the forefront. Your website, social media, your link in the bio, Facebook, all of that, right? And then the forum that I wanted to bring up is what has worked for you. So I wanted to put that question out to everyone. Have you been engaging your constituents at this time, and how? And what have you seen that works for you, whether you're an artist or an arts organization? And I think it's important to share, right? Because we're stronger together, we're in this together. So what has worked for you at this point right now?
For anyone interested in sharing, if you do not know already, down at the bottom of your screen, there is a participants button. If you click that, you can open up the participants window. There will be a blue hand. You'll click that blue hand and we'll be able to see that you have a question. Caitlin Halpern.
Hi guys. The thing that's been working really well for me. Can you hear me, by the way? I know we all have to say that. I'm so sorry, but
yes, we can hear you.
So typically with the events that we do in gallery at Smush, we just set a door price. But for everything that we're doing online, we've migrated to a sliding scale between $5 and $30. Normally our ticket prices are like 10 or 15 depending on the event. But we're channeling everybody through a GoFundMe page. So rather than asking them to send through PayPal or something else, we just picked a really easy to use platform, GoFundMe, and that's the kind of like ticket link or event link for everything. And that's been working really nicely so far. It doesn't actually pay gate things. So people, can access the content for free if they want to, but our audience pretty much like gets it and has been actually really generous. And I think in some cases our take has maybe been more than what we would have gotten at the door, just because people can phone in from home. That's all.
Thank you, Caitlin.
All right, Rashad Wright.
Hey, what's up, MJ? How's it going, everybody? Yeah, I've been doing online programming lately, and the thing that's worked for me, when I was doing live shows, most of my marketing was online via social media. I made flyers for everyone involved, flyers for all the vendors, flyers for all the performers. I started a virtual show, which is like sort of the same format. And I've just been advertising all of my virtual shows the same way I did my live ones. And I've been getting a pretty good turnout. I've also been cross-pollinating, I guess. So I've been advertising all the other virtual gigs and vice versa. I've had Solidarity Jersey City involved. So yeah, as long as you're advertising everyone else seems to advertise and support me as well. And yeah, just advertise.
Awesome. Awesome. In terms of just kind of going deeper into the question, in terms of funding and, you know, making sure that it's providing towards the sustainability.
Same promotional strategy. That's it for me.
Oh, I think we might have some technical, I don't know if there's a delay. Did everyone hear Rashad?
Rashad, I think there's an issue with your internet connection.
Yeah.
We're just going to mute you for now, okay?
So yeah, I just wanted to go deeper into that question because, as you know, as an arts organization, there are those overhead costs. Has anyone been able to utilize, you know, the capability of virtual classes or anything? What has worked to make sure that that can contribute to the sustainability portion of it?
Angelica Garcia had her hand up from the previous way you worded your question, so she might not have oh, never mind. Angelica?
Hello?
There we go.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I am an illustrator majoring in illustration, going into my 5th and hopefully final year at NJCU. Basically, as an artist, you have to do the business side and the artistic side for yourself. Just to back up what everybody else was saying, definitely keep on with that social media and advertising yourself as a way to expose yourself a little bit more. It's been very effective for me, and I've basically created a lot of artworks. Even though I'm not selling anything at the moment, I'm just putting myself out there because I think everybody needs a little bit of art in their lives right now, since they can't take pictures of pretty things or people. That's about it. I'm not selling anything or making a profit of anything, but I'm trying to get myself out there and try to volunteer in several things if I can. So, thank you.
Thank you, Angelica. Another part of this too are products, right? So your supporters and your constituents, they want to wear the logo of your organization. They want to be able to take a picture of it and, you know, say that they've supported you. They support the arts. They're proud to support you. So that's just another way too of kind of thinking of what are the creative lanes to engaging them and, you know, having it turn into something that's profitable. Did anyone have anything else to share along those lines?
We have a hand up from Rescue Poetics.
Hi guys, how are you?
Hey.
Hey, I hope everyone is healthy and safe. Actually, I have more of a question that goes in line with what you're talking about, MJ. NJCU, in conjunction with Rising Tide and the city and JCAC, a couple years back, put out a series of workshops, entrepreneurial arts workshops. And I think now would be a perfect time to relaunch those as webinars. Because now that we have, pardon the expression, a captive audience, I think everyone could benefit by the information shared through those sessions. So is there any chance of that happening again?
Yeah, I would definitely refer that question to Heather, Christine, and Stephanie.
Yeah, Stephanie's not on. There was, if you hopped on late, there was a webinar offer this morning, which maybe by a wave. Did anyone who went to that this morning? Oh, good, a few people, great. So yeah, that idea is that's something that's been happening. I'm curious. We'll have to check if we have materials or video from those events that we did already, and if it's possible to even just reshare that, whether or not we can organize more of these webinars. So that's something, yeah, that's a good idea. Also, someone had brought up if people, because everyone is now applying for, you know, emergency funding, if grant writing, if this would be a good time for grant writing support or tutorial. So by a wave of hands, anyone would be interested in something like that? I know a lot of people here have been doing that for a while. Okay, cool. So that's something we'll look into. Just to tag on to Mary's question, that was something we wanted to just give people a chance to touch on was, in addition to how you are getting your content out there, are there other strategies that you're using for emergency or short-term funding for yourselves that are attached to your content that you might want to share? I don't know if we have more hands up.
Summer Reyes has her hand up. I'm unmuting you, Summer.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you. So definitely we've been doing virtual events. I haven't been using an Eventbrite or anything for it at this point, although I'm sure I could probably monetize it, and it's kind of been suggested donation. And I've had limited success with that, but going forward, we may see if like ticketed events might work better. By the way, we have an open mic this Friday at 7 if you guys want to go. And then we are also doing a lot of products. So we are in a good position because we sell books, we have coloring books, we have like stickers and pins and all this merch. So I've been able to sell some of that as well. As MJ was talking about, products have been important for us. And then we've had some success with the emergency relief things. But some of that I've had a lot more luck with the more specific niche funds. So if your organization has like a specific focus or fits into a specific box, you might be able to have more success with that. So I was funded from an indie theater fund, a bartender relief fund, because I've worked as a bartender. So, you know, really be resourceful and don't just look at kind of generic arts funding, because there's a lot of competition for that. Yeah, that's pretty much all my input, but hopefully something comes up that can be a little more sustainable for all of us.
Thanks, Summer. And thanks, Mary, for getting that conversation going. Free to keep talking about that. I also want to just turn it over to Mike Grabowski from the Arts Council, who has some information about using your technology. Mike, let me unmute you. Okay.
Hey guys, the one thing I had mentioned to the rest of the council and wanted to bring to you guys was it might be useful if we find a little group of us who can lean into the technology end of this. I've been doing a bunch of these live streams for different clients. MTV did one last week. CBS and ABC are doing some. So it's given me a lot of insight onto the process of this, and also how to sort of dress them up and make them represent your product as well as it can be. There's a lot of different and interesting options out there. One that I found is sort of ready-packed is Streamlabs OBS. OBS by itself is an open source free program that helps set up like boxes and dissolves, and one of the things I was talking with another group about was if you sort of like MJ had mentioned was doing airing a performance you had done, but also doing a director or an actor's commentary on sort of doing a breakdown of what that is, or doing a virtual gallery tour, and that sort of stuff. It's easy to just do it and hold Zoom and do it that. I think as this advances, the best way that's going to help everyone here and everyone in our community sort of set themselves apart is, as ridiculous as it sounds, is having some production value to it. And there's easy ways to do that. The nice thing I had found about Streamlabs OBS is it allows easy monetization. It allows multi-platform streaming, so you can send it direct from your stream to YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch all at the same time. So you're sort of diversifying your spread a little bit in that regard. It also allows you to have a virtual tip jar to allow people to do that. You can also paywall the streams if you want to do that. It allows it also, with that platform in particular, they've paired with a printer and a merchandising platform. So going back to someone who had said merch as an option, you can sort of set that up and you don't really have to take any action. You let whoever it is, I want to buy a Nimbus t-shirt, and they can just do it. You see a percentage of the profit, but don't necessarily have to do all that process. Which I think, if you can offload a little bit, it would be good. But I think having a group that could get together to sort of talk about best practices, what would work for you guys and all that, in a smaller concentrated form to sort of put together, here's the, Jersey City one sheet of how to get your streams and broadcasts out there in the best way possible, to sort of utilize that sort of collective brain trust of what makes sense. What is the sort of best broad strokes to attack this with, and set your guys' art out there in the best way possible and giving you a potential revenue stream from it as well. So that was my 2 cents I want to bring up, and I'd be happy to, figure out some of that stuff with you guys, because I think it diversifies and gives you guys different options beyond just, here's my Zoom feed. So.
Awesome. Can you type in the chat that that platform that you're saying, Streamlabs?
Yep. I'll put a little blurb together of different links that are worth following up on.
Awesome. And then maybe folks, if that's something you're interested in, either working with Mike or even just letting him know these are the kinds of tech challenges I'm having and I could use information on, in the chat, just write tech and then your email so that we know we'll reach out to you directly just about that specifically.
Yeah, and I'll put my email in there as well. Please just email me. My schedule's a little batty, but email me. I'll help sort it out. Email's the best way to get a hold of me. And then maybe if we have enough people together or interested, we can have a whole separate chat and sort of help figure out what is the best way to support that.
Awesome. Any comments or questions here about what Mike brought up? Just checking the hand.
Heather, if I may, I actually attended a webinar earlier on live streaming tips.
Yeah.
And they actually made a little tip sheet for live streaming, and they also had recommended budget equipment if you really wanted to up your production value. So I can send that to you so you can send it out to everyone. I can also, I'm going to see if while we're still in the weekly call tonight, if I can look for the link to their website, because they're going to eventually upload the actual recordings of the webinar that I went to last week that I talked to everyone about, the legality of live streaming, and then also the webinar that I attended today, which was just about tips and tricks for live streaming. And so I'm going to see if I can put the link in the chat for that and then send you the tip information. One of the biggest things that they made a note of is that a lot of people can kind of look past not so great camera production, but you really need to make sure your audio is there. People will leave and they won't listen to your live streams if your audio is very bad, which sounds, a little unusual since humans are such visual creatures, but really the audio when it comes to something digital is it has to be on point. Otherwise people will leave.
Interesting.
So that's that.
Thanks, Sabrina. I see a lot of interest in that, so I'll follow up with Mike and see what's the best way, to kind of gather those ideas. Rescue has her hand up.
Hi, guys. I have a question. Is anyone or is a group working with New Jersey State Council for the Arts to get all the field opportunities that they have available and share that information with the Jersey City artists?
For the most part, I think we're, frequently cross-checking those lists. There's a tab on the Jersey City Arts Council site now that says COVID-19 resources. So a lot of, especially like the initial ones, the bigger grants and opportunities that went out are getting posted there. I feel like, is everyone, wave of hands if you're on the State Council email list and you get the opportunities listings already? Yeah. So we don't want to bombard people. So I would definitely recommend, I'm glad you brought it up, Susan, that everyone gets on that list as well. But we're trying our best to keep, crossing and attaching those links onto the Arts Council site as well. Any other hands up? So I did want to bring up, last week we started talking a little bit about messaging. So we did kind of launch that Art Inspires JC hashtag. So if everyone can just continue using that and spreading the word with folks that aren't on the call. And then Christine started an awesome t-shirt challenge, just kind of get it rolling. Wearing your t-shirts from local JC stuff or whatever swag you have. So keep that going and spread the word. But we kind of wanted to open up the conversation just about messaging, because I know it was something on everyone's mind. Just in general, how we can just keep this pointing out, as people have been saying tonight and last week about the arts being what's getting us through right now, and how we can kind of leverage that as a way to put in the forefront of everyone's mind how important the arts are to them, so that as we do go forward with funding and etc., that's something that we've already started. So there were a couple of ideas out about a day without art, which I thought was an awesome idea. I think Caitlin, you might have thrown that out last week. Curious what people's thoughts are about organizing something like that, or other follow-up. You can raise a hand if you have thoughts.
I see Summer has a hand up. I'm going to unmute you, Summer.
Hi, everyone. So I think that I've seen a lot of messaging about how art is important during this time. A lot of it is because it's what's entertaining and keeping us engaged and sane, which is valid. But I think one thing that we should also emphasize is that art is what shapes our lens that we see the world through, and it's what creates empathy. So a lot of the suffering we're seeing in different communities, especially due to COVID, is because it's just a lack of empathy in different communities, and it's all adding up. Like you're seeing people who are like, well, I want to go outside, or I want to do this, and not being considerate about other people. That's just one of the many instances where some empathy could probably have a practical impact on a situation and save lives. So I think definitely, while we want to talk about, the more, the less tangible part of art that's important, I think we should also make sure that it's in the messaging that if you think, oh, that's less important because this is a life or death kind of situation, it's really not, because I think I'm saying this succinctly, but if I say oh, imagine you're in a rainforest. Most of us haven't been in a rainforest, but you're able to imagine it because you've seen art that depicts the rainforest, that depicts a certain environment, and you're able to create that. So the art that you are exposed to shapes how you see the world, and that's why it's important for us to keep that plugged in, keep everyone connected, and plug us into our humanity. It just has a really practical application. It's not just artistic.
Okay, thank you, Summer. Next up, we have a hand from Robinson. I'm unmuting you now.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I apologize. My computer crashed, so I got onto this call at 7:07. So if I missed the discussion of the referendum, I'm sorry, but I just wanted to bring it up because last week we were kind of split between people who said, you know, we should just wait till next year, and people who said, yeah, probably, but we should at least try. And then the next morning, the mayor said that he was asking the city council to remove it. So I'm just wondering, like, a couple of us have talked to a few city council members. They feel like there's no hurry. Are we, you know, what's the Arts Council? I mean, can we ask them for a delay? Because you never know what the world's going to be like in August. I mean, maybe, or at the very least, we should be starting to work on it. So I just want to know where the Arts Council is, where we are, whether we're going to attempt to ask to just let them do it next week and take it off the ballot, or if we want to, you know, have a few months to work on it. That's it.
Yeah, so what we had talked about, which was kind of the conversation I brought up, is that messaging for the arts should be happening regardless. We also have spoken to council and they're a little bit split. The challenge with waiting until August to make a decision is that then we have less time to launch whatever the campaign is. You know,
but I think the point would be to try and start doing the groundwork, you know, maybe through July. But if we feel like you know, if we don't even try now, I just really do feel like we'll be here a year from now saying, well, maybe 2022. Like, I don't see, but if we close the door next week, then that's that. You know, I don't see what's the problem of, we don't have to wait till the last possible minute, but we could actually put a lot of stuff in place. You know, you wouldn't be launching a campaign in June anyway for a November ballot. But if we had everything planned out, I'm not saying that there's a huge chance of this succeeding, but if we don't try, there's a 0 chance of it succeeding.
Maybe the question is, you know, do you recommend that each of us reach out to council people or the mayor individually, or is there going to be a collective response from the community that's specifically coming from the Arts Council?
Yeah, we have not met since the announcement. We've just been communicating via email, obviously, about it. But council is split, and I spent much of the weekend just chatting with different people from the community who also seem to feel 2 different ways. So I think, I mean, I do agree that waiting, you know, doesn't hurt anything. We can always still decide, okay, we can't get this together and it's still not a good time. But we have not yet sent a message out to council.
Are you planning to? Because it's next week.
Yeah. I can't really answer that.
Okay, is there any follow-up that should be done on that? Because I think, don't they caucus on Monday and essentially get the agenda together? So, I mean, I would kind of like direction on where to go. I mean, are you saying that we should all reach out individually, that the council is not going to make a, you know, any kind of definitive statement on this?
I'll jump in for a second too. I mean, I think where our previous discussions have landed is we're here to serve you guys and really be an echo chamber for that. The biggest concern that has come up consistently on our end is because we have one shot at this, doing it for November seems a little terrifying because it's short term. I agree with Robinson and what she said. Let's lay the groundwork. Let's start laying out that plan and say, you know what, hell or high water, yes, we're going to go for this for next year. That's my inclination personally. That's where I stand with it. But again, if everyone is overwhelmingly wanting to push for this right now, great. I mean,
No, well, I think there's
but you know
two-
what I'm saying? There's two things. Yeah.
There's
Sorry.
two things at hand. Yeah, one is that they're voting to take it off right now in May,
Correct.
7 months prior to the election. And one is the referendum itself.
Correct.
So I think we have to deal with the immediate, the eminent issue at hand, which is that, what is the arts and therefore the Arts Council who, it's not just an echo chamber, you're leaders on this issue. And what is the response?
Sure. And I think part of it is we do want to hear from where, because again, we left last week and everyone seemed a bit split on that. So again, give us more feedback. I want to hear more about where you guys are with it, because that's sort of the concern,
I have a question for you. Can't you just push this off to an August decision, and then we could kind of rally everything until then to see exactly what it is we're going to be doing? I mean, why not buy a little time right now? I mean, does everything have to be decided in the next couple of days? Can't we just
sure.
kick the can down the road a little bit? Buy us a little bit of time. Buy us a little breathing room.
My
But the
concern,
ultimate
my
decision says
concern
go next
personally
week.
then,
Huh?
and I get my concern, and I get where your headspace is at that point, doing that again just compresses the time frame.
Well, no, I think we can work on, on crafting what that would look like.
Sure.
And that would be necessary, good work regardless,
Yes.
because we can use that work for 2021 if necessary. But of course, we wouldn't just wait until August to
100%.
make the decision. But I think what Rachel is saying is that it's buying us time, whereas, this is going to be decided next Wednesday, in a week from now, and then we don't even have the option.
I'm fine with that as long as we go into it with clear vision and the idea that does compress, if we decide come August that we want to push it from this November, that it compresses that time frame. And that's a huge concern for me about getting proper messaging out there. If we say in the short term, yeah, you know what, let's hit the ground running, let's start a positive campaign now, right now. And if the general feeling is, yes, we should try and push the council for delaying that assessment till August, I don't think any of that's unreasonable. But again, I'd rather have more of us on the same page than not. So that's where my headspace is with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's something that we support, and I would like to. I think part of this call is that we can hear from people. I've spoken directly with 3 of the council members and not yet with the others. I tried today and didn't get through. So, getting a feel for where they are, and that was split. Not the people that I spoke to weren't all coming from the same perspective. But as far as what the message is that we want to give to them in the urgent, this week, like Meredith's saying, I think having more time to discuss it can't hurt anything. So yeah, other opinions, especially those of you we haven't had a chance to check in with.
Okay, so I see Joe Wax with a hand up. I'm going to unmute you, Joe.
Appreciate it. Thanks. Just, I don't know. I know most of you, a lot of you folks, Joe Wax from Hudson County Office of Cultural Affairs. I just was talking offline to Christine, just in terms of a lot of you are on the call, so it's great to be here with you all. My main thing has been trying to see where our LAP grantees are at, and make sure that they're living and breathing, and trying to plan, to do what we can do virtually, and then also, what we can do in terms of scheduling. And pretty much, I think a lot of folks, most of our grantees are in pretty good shape, thinking that the latter part of the year should be, you know, if assuming things get back to some kind of semblance of normalcy, that will be okay. So those of you who are on this, I just guess use a cheap plug and haven't like sent me an email or give me a call. Appreciate if you would, so that, you know, we can just all be on the same page. And Christine also asked me, we've been corresponding with the state. You know, the state's gotten money from the NEA. They're supposed to kick it down to the counties. They didn't give us they didn't give us our last conversation. The feeling I got, they didn't give us a dollar amount, but the feeling I got was that we're not going to be pleased with it. Like we're not, like, as Sam knows, and a lot of you knows, we're not generally not pleased with what we get from the state anyway, in any regard. So when we do get that, we will, you know, certainly pass that along. The other thing I just want to say is, like, we did do a webinar a couple weeks ago, and we're going to do another one this Thursday, and I don't think they sent the invite out yet, because we share, it's a logistical pain in the ass. We share one Zoom account with like the rest of the county. So, but we are going to do it. It's going to be more focused on, the last one was kind of all comers, and I thought it was good, but this one's going to be focused, you know, primarily on arts and organizations and artists individually. So I'll send that out to you all. You're pretty much, I think, you know, 90% of the folks, or maybe not 90, 75% of the folks on here are on my distribution list. So I'll make sure that you get that. And just lastly, just, you know, we know it's a obviously it's a trying time, and we're trying to see from the county what we can do in terms of resources. You know, we're tight just like everybody else, but we're exploring what we can do, what we may be able to do. And there's, you know, clearly there's a need for extra resources. So we're exploring it. I can't make any promises, but we're definitely taking a look. And if you guys have concrete things that you think we should be doing, including in terms of resources, drop me a line, just give me a holler. I'll throw my cell up here in my email so that you all have it. If you don't have it, just give me a holler whenever. And that's really all I have to say. It's just a pleasure to be with you guys, and appreciate all the work that you're doing. And just want to thank you.
All right, thank you, Joe. Now we have Sam Pott with a hand up. I'm going to unmute you, Sam.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, just jumping back to the question about you know, postponing the council vote, or how what the stance of the arts community is regarding that. My feeling is, I think it's been expressed on this call already, but my feeling is that we don't stand to lose anything by advocating to postpone it till August. That does buy us the time that would be needed to determine if, you know, what it would look like to actually try to mount a campaign. You know, I see Beth's comments about a poll. You know, we would need time to get that off the ground. And I think that, you know, more broadly, I think that for the arts referendum to be withdrawn so rapidly and without a lot of conversation with the arts community in advance, for us to kind of just say, oh, well, better, you know, maybe next year, it indicates from our side a position that we are not so strongly behind how important this arts referendum is. And, you know, many of us really have been advocating for Jersey City to support the arts with direct funding for years now. And this arts referendum was, you know, the culmination of years of advocacy work. And I'm split, honestly, I'm split about whether this is the right year to do it, because I think there's going to be competing interests, between the deficit that the school system is running to, the major deficit that the city government is going to be facing. But I think that by postponing it at least a few months, it does send a message to the political officials that says, well, just slow down, hold on a little bit. Let's look at this. This is something that, we've all agreed has been extremely important to all of us. So let's, hold our horses here. And, if the conditions are such that this is unlikely to pass, when we look at this in August, so be it. But for it to be removed so quickly, as even an option, I think it sends the message that, this is not a critical thing that we all are really standing behind, which, I hope that, and I know that everybody on the call here agrees that it is. I think we envision a city ultimately that does fund the arts. And, especially as we rebuild, many arts groups are going to be facing extremely difficult circumstances. And so, especially those in the performing arts, where, the question of where audiences, will audiences be willing to come back? Will students be willing to, congregate in a classroom, are really still open-ended questions. So I think for us to kind of acknowledge that this is a major decision, and it shouldn't be taken so lightly, would be a good statement for us to make at the least. And then it gives us, like I said, a couple months to kind of look at it more clearly and get a better sense of perspective come August.
Good. I think that's a good point.
All right. Thank you, Sam. Now we're going to go to McAdam Smith. Hold on. Are you unmuted? There we go.
Am I unmuted?
Yes, you are.
Hey, I just want to say, agree with what Sam said for the most part. And I think that, well put. I think it is important, as everyone's across the board, across Jersey City, people are struggling for funding, to step back too readily makes it look like we, the arts community even agrees that we aren't a priority. So I think that's important. I know from what we've heard from the city council as well, the city council is kind of split. Things are changing still very quickly, but we know that a lot of the city councilors are very much on board for arts funding, and so we want to be able to take their opinions into account as well. If they think it's a struggle to get it to pass this year, we want to take their advice because they're experienced in this. But we definitely want to, if we can push back till August even, still be able to start to lay that groundwork for the promotion of the campaign, promoting the referendum, and the importance of arts funding in Jersey City. So yeah, just wanted to second what was being said there.
Okay, thank you, McAdam. I see no other hands up at this time. Does anyone else have any comments, questions, or concerns regarding anything we have spoke about in today's meeting?
I think what I'm, just to follow up, one of the, I think, just concerns about what felt like the suddenness of the mayor's announcement is, was the arts community consulted. So that's really, these calls are here for us to hear from you. So I'm sensing like a group, agreement to ask to wait, to at least wait to pull this from the ballot. So I will chat with the other members of the board who aren't on here. 3 of us are, about making that recommendation, and also, again, still trying to follow up with the other council members that we haven't spoken to see where they stand with that. So that's good. And anyone else who wants to weigh in on that aspect of it is encouraged to do so now.
Okay, I see a hand from Caitlin Halpern. I'm unmuting you now.
I have a clarifying question about what's happening this week versus what's happening in August. Am I following that if we can ask for something this week that would delay the decision to pull the referendum from the ballot from now until August, and then if it stays on the ballot in August, we would have from August to November to mount this campaign? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I'm just, and again, I'm just gathering this, and these calls are the time for everyone to speak up so that, you know, we can kind of just organize both your, you know, everyone here's ideas and feelings and thoughts about it. But I think what's being said is we push for them to wait because it's not urgent, and we want to make the point that we're not letting go of it so quickly, with the understanding that we probably should wait till next year because it will most likely have a better chance of passing next year, but not making that a clear decision now. That's what I'm gathering from what everyone's saying. Correct me if I'm wrong.
We have a hand up from Meredith Burns. You're unmuted.
I think one part of what you said, Caitlin, is that then we wouldn't be able to begin the campaign until August, but we can start working on building a structure, building a working group or a subcommittee to start, you know, proposing ideas for what the funding and distribution of this money would look like as soon as possible. So I think why this is eminent right now is that if the council votes next week to take this referendum off the ballot in November, then yeah, there's no opportunity for us to begin doing any of that work. I mean, in theory, sure, we could, but you know, that postpones it until next year or perhaps later. And I guess the question that I keep asking myself and others is, how do we really know that next year is going to be a better time? We just don't know. We don't know what else is going to be passed. We don't know what the budget is going to look like and how taxes will be increased. So I think I don't think it's necessarily the strongest argument to say next year will be better, because we just have no idea what next year is going to bring.
Thank you, Meredith. We're nearing the end of our session. We're going to take Robinson's hand, and then I think we're going to try and wrap up. I'm unmuting you right now, Robinson.
Yeah, I agree with Meredith. We need to, I mean, I think that, look, there may be a minuscule chance that in August we'll say, yes, we're in a good position and we should go forward with it. There greater likelihood is that we wouldn't. But I think we really need to actually start laying the groundwork and showing them that, you know, we're going to have to do all the work. The city is not going to give us $1 million campaign for this, or any. They'll give us support if we do this, but we're going to have to be the ones to do a lot of the heavy lifting. And I think that we should, as Meredith said, start some kind of a committee, you know, that is not the ultimate committee, but is one that can perhaps provide guidance, give them an idea of how to go forward and what kind of people should be on the ultimate committee that they pick. I mean, I know the Arts Council for many years talked about having a policy committee, and I think this would be the time to do it. And the Arts Council does need to, you know, be in the lead in this, because the arts has to be unified in a voice, and it has to actually be very strong on this issue, whether it's this year or next year. And this is the year to see what we can do. And if it ends up being next year or the year after, as it likely will, at least we've gotten a lot of the mistakes out of the way, and at least we've laid the groundwork. So I would hope Heather and Mike and McAdam, like, you know, start thinking about asking people to participate in a working group, to move this forward, to do a plan so that in August we can say to the city council, here's our plan and it may work, or here's our plan and we'd like to implement it next year. But if we don't have a plan, then then the delay offers us nothing. So I do hope that you will, that we can move forward in some way on this.
Yeah, so just to recap a little bit, last week we did ask several times for people to write in the chat if they were willing to volunteer as far as campaigning, and only 2 people responded. So I wrote there again, if anyone is willing to and has time and headspace right now to be raising money for the campaign and or starting to map it out, just write volunteer and your email in the chat so we'll know to message those people specifically. And again, if you weren't on last week, we talked about, we had started a little bit of campaign ideas with Christine and her office right before this happened. And part of the conversation is, that the ways that we had planned to campaign and the ways that we had planned to pay for the campaign were also just suddenly swept out from under us. So that has to play into the practicality of the conversation. If 10 people right now are like, I can put some real time and effort into this, then we would absolutely love to, even 5 people to organize that group and help facilitate that.
I'm just going to weigh in real quick here, and it's good to hear everybody's perspective on this. If you do want to speak at the council meeting, certainly sign up for public comment this Wednesday. So that's something open to everyone. That's always your right as a Jersey City resident and an artist. And in terms of the message, which is where we were kind of headed a little while ago, so maybe we want to start the conversation next week with this, talking about what that message is. And it does really directly relate to what the organizations and what you as artists are working on in terms of material right now. I know Mana said that they would love to directly connect and support this messaging initiative. And we had the photographer from the city who is happy to document that. And Mike Grabowski was talking about the technical end. So I think we have some really good support. Oh, and also the library, if you've noticed, their streaming is starting to get a lot of eyes. So I think we have some strong support for the work that you're doing to be able to start messaging now and to use the work and the events and the programming that you're creating now to start that message of the impact of the arts and how important it is, especially right now, which is a really good immediate first step. And then that's stuff that will be there and will be documented for the next steps. And the other thing that I wanted to say, just in terms of crisis funding, we're really hoping on the back end of things to be able to provide more information about resources, particularly on the local level, that will be useful to you in the coming weeks. So it's just something to think about is, in addition to where you are from a point of crisis, also start thinking about what kind of programming you are presenting or creating, or artwork you're creating that is in response to COVID-19, programming that you have had to adjust to the new audience online, the costs associated with that. And I think what Sabrina was saying will be very helpful to pull back to the group, the costs of upgraded technical equipment, of upgraded production values, and anything else that really sort of responds to emergency needs, to needs of our community through the arts and what that looks like and what that would cost you to present, and what it's cost you or will cost you when you switch gears to respond to that. So those are things that I can see coming down the road, specifically related to the arts and COVID-19, that we'll be able to get some immediate funding streams attached to. So just something for everybody to keep in mind.
Sabrina, do you want to, can we just take, it looks like just 2 more quick.
Okay, we have a hand from Meredith. I'm unmuting you.
Yeah, I just wanted to share this free weekly call from Social Impact Studios. I've found them to be very helpful. It's a woman, Ennis Carter, who runs it. And it's all about messaging and fundraising during this crisis. You know, her website's a little tricky to navigate, but she's really knows her stuff. She's truly an expert, and these calls are free. She's offering them for free during this time. So I just put the link in the chat, and you know, I encourage everybody to take advantage of it.
Thank you, Meredith. All right, and our last hand is from Rescue Poetics. I'm unmuting you now.
Thank you. I have a question. Has any consideration been given to beyond the virtual world when we go back to doing things physically? And the reason I'm bringing that up is because there's likely going to be the use of masks are going to be required for a while, especially in things like the performing arts and the literary arts. And I'm moving toward, is it possible to offer, I don't know if there's any capacity for American Sign Language to be part of this new developing community that we're going to be seeing in the future. I believe that JC Writers has a resource. I don't know if they teach, but there are also several artists in the community that do American Sign Language. And I think it would be a great thing to have that available to artists going forward.
Susan, that's awesome. We can maybe put on the agenda for next week, you know, what the landscape looks like when we all return from this. We started to talk about it last week, but there are obviously more timely things. But we have to wrap up. I want to thank Sabrina and Justin for your tech wizardry. And we'll follow through with the emails, both for the tech group and the volunteer group. Excuse me. And Christine, do you have anything you want to close with?
No, I'd just like to pick up that conversation moving forward next week with messaging. And in the meantime, if anybody has anything that'd be something that we should look at for documenting, that would be great.
Awesome. Okay, thanks everybody.